Hi, and welcome to the Spirit on Tap podcast. My name is Anna, and I am the DM for the campaign. I would like to introduce you to my players, Eric.
Hello, I'm Bora, the White Tiger Leonin fighter.
And we have Ginny.
Hello, I am Ka, the Water Ganassi Circle of Stars druid.
And then we have Helen.
Hello, I'm Helen. I play Atonement from Sin, the party's Grave Domain cleric.
So I guess we'll just get right into it. Previously, on Spirit on Tap, Ka and Atonement teamed up with Bora to help him clear out a warehouse filled with imported food and a few rust monsters. They returned to an individual named Chul, who was the individual who sent Bora to clear out this warehouse, and is also the owner of an establishment known as the Aromatic Tiger. They arrived just in time to find Chul and his associates feeding a number of the local poor and the hungry. They got paid for their services, they were allowed to eat and drink and have a short rest before they returned to Bora's master Almok to try and do some information gathering for Atonement's mission to hunt down a very special individual. So last we left it, you guys were at the gates of Almok's mansion. Last we left it, you were at the gates of Almok's mansion in some heavy monsoon rains that had just started. So Almok's gate, I believe I described it as a circular gate with sort of wrought iron decoration on it. The wall itself kind of curves over the gate and is about 8 to 9 feet high with black ceramic tiles over the top curving downwards, and the stonework for the wall and the gateway look like quite roughly hewn but kind of polished down rock, so it's not super even. It's a little bit bumpy along the side. I'm kind of thinking of when they just like get the rocks and they just put it in and they kind of try and find the rock that fits best as they go along. Through the gate, through a few gaps in the gate, you can see what looks like a pathway that winds between a number of plants and patches of flowers towards quite a large looking wooden house. What would you guys like to do? Bear in mind, it is still raining, and I believe, Ka, you were using some of your water abilities to keep the rain
That
off
is
of
correct.
you.
An inverse umbrella, if you will.
All right, so what do you guys want to do? You're at the gate. There doesn't seem to be any guards or anything nearby, but Bora, you would know that there are people watching the gate, even if you can't see them, considering this is your employer. You know him quite well.
I mean, I would assume that Bora is pretty well identifiable, even if someone's watching the gates. So, is there like a large knocker or something on the gate, or is it like easily enough to be able to push open?
I would say actually you're probably trusted enough and high up enough to have a key for the gate. And you do know that there are a few other gateways, like servants' entrances and stuff, further along. But I would say you're high ranking enough in Almok's household to be able to have your own key and being able to enter this way yourself.
Then Bora would just, really quick, what material would the key be made out of?
Oh. Roll a luck check.
I don't like that. Off the bat.
This is a really good point.
It's a 14.
Alright, so you have this like moment of just like, oh no, we've just been fighting rust monsters and the key's made of iron. So you pat yourself down real quick and you get your key ring, and you can see some of the smaller keys for kind of cupboards and things in the pantry might have like got bits of rust on it, but the main house keys still intact.
So, am I secretly chef, enforcer, and janitor if I have all these different keys?
Well, you know, it's more just like you've got the main house key, but you've also got like the key to the pantry, a key to the kitchen, like those kind of things.
Okay. Well, we're here. And Bora just puts the key into the lock, turns the key. Hopefully it unlocks, and then pushes on the door.
Yeah, there's a little bit of resistance, but it's not much. You're just like one of those things where you're like, I should probably get this oiled or something.
Yeah. And he just pushes open the door and opens to the pathway beyond.
Okay, so as you guys wander down, as I said, there is a pathway that kind of winds between all these trees and garden, like patches of flowers. And as you're wandering down, it is kind of middle of the summer, so a lot of the flower, like the blossoms in the trees, would have fallen a long time ago. But the canopies are like branching over the pathway, almost forming a bit of a tree tunnel. And hidden amongst flowers, you can see small streams and ponds with large fish like swimming lazily. And you can see all the water seems to be heading downhill. So those of you that are more nature inclined, so probably Car, you kind of get the impression that maybe they're utilizing a stream of some kind to maintain a flow of water through the gardens. And as you make your way around, you come to the end of this path and you see quite a large house in front of you and many extra other buildings dotted around the house, which, Bora, you know, these are like the servants' quarters. There is like a small like a groundskeeper hut. There's a small office that's separate, which people like that Almok doesn't always use, but sometimes on cooler days when he wants to get out of the house, he will use this office instead. And then obviously you've got the kitchens and the pantries, and there's a small like guard's hut. But the house itself is quite large, predominantly made from wood, but it's got a stone base, and the main floor of the house is raised about 1.5 feet above the actual ground. And there are a couple of small steps dotted around for you to go up. And you do see on this wooden, like there's like a wooden veranda or like a low wooden balcony that goes around the outside of the house. Shoes and boots and sandals have been left on a woven mat by these stairs. And you can see there's a few screens and stuff that will open so that you can get into the house. And as you approach, you are met by quite a tall male furbolg. He is just under about 7 feet tall. He's got quite thick red hair, and it's quite closely cropped to his head. Well, I was say that like 10 times. And he has quite dark pink skin, which looks like it is quite weathered. And he's got lines around his eyes and his face, which you guys don't really need to do an insight check to know that these are more like laughter lines as opposed to frowning or anything. And he's wearing quite a simple black tunic with an outline of a lotus flower embroidered in blue on his left breast. And as he walks along the veranda to the nearest set of steps to you, you guys notice that he does have a slight limp to his gait. And he is standing quite straight, but every so often you do see him like kind of maybe every 4 or 5 steps, he seems to that step seems to be a little bit heavier than the rest. And as you guys approach, he kind of gives Bora a nod, and he looks at the two of you. Good afternoon, Master Bora. We were not expecting you back for some time.
Well, you know me. I like to be efficient and impress the Lotus Father. These to help me in my endeavor this afternoon. Atonement from Sin, who is the tiefling. They are a cleric as well. And this is Ka, who is I suppose is a dragonborn that I haven't seen their type before. But they seem to have a way around manipulating the stars and the elements around them. Also is very adept with an abacus, which I found out.
And fantastic with keys.
You see him kind of glancing at you, and you can see him trying not to smile, but the wrinkles in his eyes are sort of like giving it away. and he kind of glances at you for a moment and then back to Bora.
Is this for me or for you? That sounds like a for me.
No, he just glances across the car for a few moments, just very amused by this.
So he's like just staring at me. I'm just being awkwardly silent. Got it.
I mean,
is his name pronounced Chunso or Chunsu?
Chunso.
Chunso, okay. Mr. Chunso, hello, and kind of like waves his hand in front of him for a second, just cause like to break this awkward silence. Is the Lotus Father awake this late, or is it best if we address him in the morning?
The Lotus Father is currently entertaining guests. His wife insisted that they have a small gathering this evening. You can meet with him in the morning, but if you would like, maybe I could help, or maybe Lady Amai?
Well, probably best to not interrupt Almok's good company for the evening. If you could simply find a place to put these two up for the night on the estate, that would be plenty, at least so far as I can tell. I don't know if they need any sort of special accommodations, whether for worship or otherwise, but someplace out of the rain would be nice.
The Firbolg turns to both of you. Pinkar, you notice him bowing in your direction. Welcome to the home of the Lotus Father. My name is Secretary Chunso. I am his personal secretary. Do you require any special sleeping arrangements? Or would you be okay with the servants' quarters? I'm afraid we do not have any guest rooms available.
I would like to respectfully bow back, say, anywhere where I can see the stars.
Yeah, Tone from Sim will also kind of graciously bow back and say, no, I do not mind where we go, wherever is most convenient for you.
Ka's going to take a quick second. They've thought about what they said. They're going to glance up at their water umbrella and they'll say, somewhere where I might see the stars on another night.
Again, you see Chunso, he like kind of this time he breaks out into an actual smile. And he's like, Bora, your guests are wonderful. Please, come with me. And he puts on a pair of sandals and then walks down onto your level.
Really,
and he starts to lead.
Really quick, right?
Yeah.
Is the aftermath of the Dang Jang incident still evident on Bora's face, because it was kind of just rubbed in there?
Yeah, I was gonna make you roll a luck check, but yeah, you guys didn't really make much of an effort to clean it off. So yeah, you still have like smeared down your face. So
Okay.
as Chunso walks past you, you just hear him chuckle. You guys get the kind of vague impression that he might be kind of old, from just the way he's walking, and just his like as he's moving, you notice he's a little bit slower than, like, for example, you guys or Bora or someone who would be in their middle years, and he kind of comes down to your level, chuckles, and then leads you towards one of the bigger of the other buildings, one of the bigger ones. And as you enter this building, it's raised up as well. Not quite as big and not quite as lavish, but it looks like it is very, very well cared for. And it looks kind of old from, like, how the wood is pitted slightly, and you can see some of the tiles and some of the decoration underneath the roof. So the beams and things. It does look like it's fairly old. But as you go in, you get like this relief from the rain. Although Chunso does pause for a moment and kind of looks at Atonement, and you guys notice that Chunso looks down at her feet.
Before we would have gone inside.
Yeah, he's kind of like stopped
Okay.
on the veranda, if that makes sense. So you guys aren't allowed in yet, but the roof is over you.
Okay, as long as we're not inside, she will cast Prestidigitation and just clean herself off. Which I guess would also, if he was close enough, would also kind of clean off Bora. If he's close enough, I don't know where he's standing. So it's just goes up to Bora.
He's really not standing anywhere near your feet.
Well, it's my whole body. It's not just her feet. It's the whole person.
Yeah, he slides open one of the screen doors, and you come into quite an open, it almost looks like a social space, and there's a few corridors that lead off it, giving you the impression this building is probably either a rectangular shape or it's an L-shaped building. And there's each of these corridors, just from what you can see, looks like that they're long enough for potentially 4 rooms on each side. And the common area that you guys find yourself in has bamboo mat floor. I guess tatami mat would be the closest thing that most people would know. And you see there are tables with folded legs leaning up against the walls. There's a couple of cushions and things for people to sit on. And he leads you down a corridor directly opposite where the doorway is. And he opens one of the rooms. And he turns to the two of you. I hope it's okay that you share a room. I'm afraid this is the only one we have available.
Yes, that is fine for me, if it is fine for you, Ka.
Could I take a moment to just look in the room and see what the layout is? Just a quick once-over.
So, without doing a thorough investigation check, you do see there is a few chests there, as well as what looks like it could be a wardrobe of some kind. And if you wanted to, you can go and take a look at the chest, but peeking in would be, you can see like bedding and stuff provided already for you. And
it's more of like more of like a quick cursory glance.
Yeah, and there's a window that looks out into what looks like a courtyard, so you now know that it's sort of a square-shaped building with a courtyard in the middle. And the room is about, I would say maybe 15 feet by about 10 feet. So there is enough space for you guys to be in here, as well as like potentially a third if you really wanted to push it.
I'm just going to... Yes, this will do nicely. Thank you.
On a clearer night, you should be able to see the stars from here, but unfortunately the clouds are covering it. I am sorry.
You cannot control the weather.
And you see him just like kind of smiling at you. If only one could. If you excuse me, I will ask the kitchens to prepare some food for you, or some warm drinks, whichever you would prefer.
This is just out of context, but I love how he was like, oh, if only one of us was a druid, if only one of us could control the elements, that would just be ideal.
God,
if only one of you was stronger, then maybe we could.
In response
what did you ask? I remember what you asked.
In response to Chinso.
But yeah, would you like warm food or warm drinks?
I'm actually fine. We did just eat, so.
Yes, I too am most full, but thank you for your generous offer.
Very well. If you need me, I will be in Master Almok's other office. And he looks at Bora. He's referring to the little one that's kind of detached from the house. And there is the lady Imai. She's a high elf. You may see her around. She normally stops
Imai?
by this building. IMAI. She normally stops by in the evenings to see if anyone needs anything. Then he gives you a bow, and he starts shuffling his way out of the building.
Getting them situated with where they are sleeping for tonight. Bora actually would have beelined towards the kitchens in order to put the wonderful bucket of rust monster meat on
Yep,
ice.
that's easily done. So you two are on your own. Bora's disappeared off to the kitchens. When you go to the kitchens, you can see that it is very busy, and they are. It kind of looks like they finished preparing the food. They're just in the process of trying to get the food across to the main building without getting it wet at the moment. And as you come in, no one really pays you much mind, although a couple of people sort of like nod in acknowledgement that you are there.
He's just gonna get a quick look of himself in like one of the pots or pans that are probably in semi-pristine condition, and just like catch a look at his reflection and just let out a big sigh as half his face is like matted red and the other half is like, I guess, a pink to a white at this point, as he just goes into one of the boxes where they chill and they freeze meats, and just kind of wraps the rust monster meat into some sort of butcher's paper and just deposits it in there to sort of chill overnight.
Yep, that's done easily enough.
He'll probably swipe a cup of tea that's been made for Almok and his guests.
For yourself?
I'm assuming that's not going to get him
No,
into
no,
too
no.
much
There's
trouble.
like 20 cups there, and so it's easy enough to swipe a cup of tea. All right, back to Car and Atonement. So you've been left alone by this somewhat elderly furball. Yeah. As I said, you guys. I would say that you guys would be familiar enough to know that either the chest or the wardrobe would have all the sleeping stuff in it. But it's easy, like in a household like this, is easy enough to get more if you needed. What would you like to do?
So you said that there's a courtyard. Is there like a little landing, like a little, not necessarily balcony, porch, I think is the word I'm looking for? Like covered little area outside the...
I've been using the term
veranda.
But
that's a much better term.
Yeah.
Like outside the room at all?
Yeah, I didn't know. I wanted to use a Western word for it, and I was like, veranda. I think veranda works, but porch also works. Yeah, there is. So you, I would say you would go back to sort of where the social area is, where more communal area, and the corridor going the other way. The room sort of extends a little bit, and you see there is a door that allows you to go out into the veranda. So down the corridor that loops around, not the one that you went down. I guess if you came in, it was opposite you.
Not quite ready to like
corridor probably to your
to
right.
leave the room. I think. How big is the like? Could I sit in the windowsill?
Okay.
Is the window big enough for that?
Well, first I'll say that you can probably see this door from the windowsill. So.
Oh no! Like, I'm not quite ready to leave the room yet. Like, I'd kind of like to stay and like acclimate myself in the room. But I also don't think I'm quite ready to like be inside.
I don't know.
I don't know. It's hard to describe.
I don't think. I know. No, I'm kind of getting you now. Yeah. So I would say it's not big enough for you to actually sit in the windowsill, but it's definitely big enough for you to sort of be able to lean out from like your waist, kind of thing. I mean, you could easily climb through it, but you couldn't like sit on it securely.
So it's like it's fairly narrow.
I would say it's not narrow, but it's not very tall.
I will get up in the windowsill and just like wrap myself into a little ball. If it's big enough for me to do that.
Okay. You could probably just about fit, yeah. Because I'm thinking the window's probably about 2.5 feet tall.
Hang on, let me grab my measuring tape.
See how tall you are.
How tall I am sitting. Although Ka is like 6 foot-ish, so that's 32 inches. Yeah, it's 2.5 feet. So yeah, I'd barely fit. Okay. Is the veranda outside the window? Like, could I climb out of the window onto the veranda? I do that.
Yes, you can. I'll say the courtyard as well has it has quite a large tree in the middle of it. I would say you know well enough to not have to do a proper like nature check, but this would be a cherry blossom tree.
Beautiful. So I'm going to
and like the branches are spread wide, almost over.
So I'm going to turn to Atonement, and I'm going to say, I'm not quite ready to settle down yet for the evening, but I'll just be outside if you need me, and I will crawl through the window and just, like, sit on the veranda with my legs crossed.
Is there...
I will add...
When you say crawl through the window, like, on a scale of 1 to 10, how awkward is this crawl through the window?
I can make you roll for it if you really, really
That's
want
kind of
to,
what I was thinking.
Do you want to roll to see how elegant you are?
I do want to roll to see how elegant I am. 14.
Yeah, so you're pretty elegant. Like, when you go through easy enough, when you land on the other side, you nearly get it, but like your foot slips a bit, so there's a bit of a thump on the other side. But you manage to kind of keep your footing. You don't fall over or anything. So you determine what you see looks pretty elegant, but it does sound like that car might have slipped on the other side.
Is there only one window in this room? Okay, that's fine.
There is, yes.
So seeing Car kind of slink their way out of the window, Atonement from Sin's just gonna go into like the chest or the cupboard or something, and just like set the bedding out for both her and Car, and she's gonna set Car's stuff closer to the window, and.
I was half expecting you to say I'm gonna sit in the chest.
What? Why would she do that?
I don't know. We've just had this whole discussion. I don't know.
That's such a weird place to go.
Is Ka slowly turning? I'm sorry. Is Atonement from Sin slowly turning into like a cat in your head, where it's like I fits, I sits, and just goes there? Like,
I mean, but yes, it's easy enough. Like the bedding is clean, but it smells like it's like been freshly washed.
Yeah, she's gonna set Cars by the window, and she's gonna place it so that the head where they'll lay down their head is aligned with the window. So if they wake up, they can automatically see out, and they can see up to the sky, like just from opening their eyes. And then Car will just take the dark side of the room, the other side. She doesn't care about the stars. It's all good.
I will say, this bedding is much, much nicer than what you used at your temple.
Fancy.
And it's much nicer than what you've been sleeping on your journey to Malan.
Nice. I don't want to leave. This sounds comfy as hell.
So you're just gonna chill out there, hang out?
I think after she's done setting up all the bedding, she would probably also head outside into like the kind of courtyard area, basically where there's people, where there's life, just to see. I think she just wants to like sit and people watch and just kind of not inspect, but just kind of watch the people that Bora is familiar with and just learn more about him.
Can you just roll me a general perception check?
Perception, okay. Yes.
And just as a heads up, Ka is going to do the same, but with the local flora and fauna.
Okay. 13. So with 13, you do hear people coming back and forth in the corridors, and it does sound like the voices that you hear do sound like children, and you can hear the slight like click clop on the floor of potential hooves. And and then they disappear, or they kind of the footsteps sort of stop, but you can hear them continue to talk. And I would say with a 13, it's low enough for you to figure they're probably hanging out in the communal area. Did you want to leave the room or the actual building?
Yeah, if there's like a communal area, she'll probably go into that and just kind of sit by the side, just in the corner, just people watch.
Yeah. So when you go out to the communal area, you see these two children. They're two very, very young looking fawns. Not fawns. Am I thinking of satyrs? Satyrs. I'm like, they have deer legs? Are they fawns? And you can see these tiny little like buds of antlers kind of starting to poke out of their head. And one has very like, it's kind of shaved at the sides, but he has a bit of hair and it's like tied at the back. I'm thinking like soccer style, but a bit longer.
Nice.
And the other one is a young girl with her hair braided down her back. It seems to be quite long. And they seem to be playing with some string and some wooden blocks, and it's almost like a cup with a string attached to a wooden ball, and you can see them like trying to catch this ball in their little cup. And they're like jeering each other and laughing at each other, and like the ball accidentally hits one of the kids and they all just burst out laughing. But they are wearing the uniforms that you've seen Junso and Bora wear, so like plain black tunics with the little lotus flower embroidered on the left breast. But these ones have got sort of like a pink flower on it.
Nice. Yeah, she'll just hang out there until someone comes and gets her, basically.
Okay. Car, can you roll, I guess if you're looking at the flora and fauna, a nature check for me, please?
Okay, so this is my first time doing this ever. But I want to cast a spell as a ritual, specifically speak with animals.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Kind of like, yeah. So take about 10 minutes and try it and like see what sort of creatures are local, and just try to have a short conversation with them, and get kind of the lay of the land, and also, I would like to get their general impressions of both Bora and Shinso, who are the only two people that I've seen here so far. So maybe I should start by identifying, like seeing if there are any cute creatures nearby.
Well, you definitely see in the tree, you can hear a lot of birds, and you can see quite a few sparrows and a couple of doves in the tree. You don't really see the in front of you in the courtyard. So around the tree, you can see the tree is being supported by some like metal supports, which is holding this tree up, especially the bigger branches that are starting to like grow over the actual roof and creating this canopy. So it's not actually that wet in this area. Well, the rain isn't nearly as heavy because it is blocking the water from the courtyard, although it is coming down from the roof. Around the tree, it does look like it is essentially a well-kept lawn around the tree, and you see a few plants growing through it. I would say with just your general knowledge, without having to roll anything, besides the sparrows and the doves in the trees, you would assume there's probably mice around as well, and maybe other smaller creatures outside of the courtyard, but within the courtyard itself, it's predominantly birds.
Okay. I would like to call out to some of the one of the doves, or just make a little dove call and see if anyone is. Hello, friends.
Okay, so with a call out like that, you see this quite a large. I
mean, like 10 minutes because it's ritual, but
yeah. When you're done with the ritual, kind of a relatively large. I would say the size of. I'm trying to think because they're like our wood pigeons, like the size of these doves. I'm trying to figure out what an American equivalent size. I'm kind of thinking like a slightly like 3/4 the size of an American football is roughly how big they are.
Okay, so like
yeah, with
Crow size, maybe?
yeah, sort of. Yeah, that would be a good description, like a duck size. So, they're sort of pale grey feathers with a black mark across the back of the neck. One of them flies down and sort of lands in front of you or just like looks up at you. It's like, who are you? Never seen you before.
I've never seen me before either. But I've also never seen you before.
Oh, good point.
It's nice to meet you. What's your name?
I don't really have a name. We don't give each other names. What is your name?
I am Ka. But it comes out as like a Ka in dove language.
Oh, nice to meet you. Are you going to give me food?
I'm just... Oh, I don't have any right now, but I could certainly ask for some in a little bit.
Well, okay.
I would... I love to share with my friends, but unfortunately I have very little to share right now. I just came in here today with some new friends, and I am a little out of place, and I was wondering if you could tell me about some of the people, some of the animals that live here, and what your life is like.
Well, there are many people who live here. My favorites are Osa and Kiso. They give us lots and lots of food. But there are the small creatures, and there are many fish and foxes, and I don't really like the foxes. They chase us. I don't like them very much. But also there are rabbits and
They can
mice.
be scary, yes.
And the lord who lives here, he has a falcon, which is sometimes scary, but I'm usually okay. They mostly goes for the mice. But the lord, he is very generous. He lets the people who work in the kitchen feed us sometimes when there is extra rice or extra grain. They put it out for us. And there are many of the big ones here, but they don't harm us. They mostly feed us. So they're very pretty. One of them is very pretty. His beautiful gold scales is associated with the dark scaled lord. I think she's very nice.
What about the big, fluffy one?
The tiger man?
Yes. Is he nice to you?
Yes, he's nice. He is normally the one who gives the little ones food to give to us. He mostly lives in the kitchen.
I live there now?
According to the birds, you do.
Okay.
That is probably when they take note of you.
Yeah. It's like you're bringing them food from the kitchen, therefore.
Let's see. I was going to say, thank you, friend, so much for your introduction. I'll make sure to check out the kitchen and pay you and give you and your friends something.
That would be very nice, thank you.
As my friend.
You are my friend too. Ka. And then it flies away.
That's fantastic. Ka.
I love playing animals in D&D. I will say, like, while this...
Oh, and I forgot to mention this, but, like, I want to flavor this week with animals is, like, just, like, drawing a constellation of a couple different animals in the air and kind of, like...
That's so cool. Yeah, they're definitely... So, with that, you see, like, your spell starts to fade, and you do think for a few moments that, like, a couple of the birds kind of seem to look at you briefly before they just go about whatever, like singing and doing what they do. But while you've been doing that, I will say, Atonement, you have picked up that these little two satyrs in front of you are called Osa and Kiso.
Do I happen to know which one is the boy and which one is the girl?
Osa is the boy and Kiso is the girl.
Kiso. Nice. Good to know.
Yeah, so I'll say you pick this up, and while you've been waiting there, a few other people have like gone through, almost like they're collecting things from their rooms or like running out to go to like their particular work, but no one who's really stopped in the communal area besides these two kids.
I guess after just a good, 10-15 minutes or so, she'll probably just head back to the room that was given to them, and
I'm partially like maybe you get the back end of hearing Carter talking in bed.
It's a very, very loud chirping. I guess while she's kind of watching Car and sees that she has a moment to herself, she'll like take off the blindfold and like while holding it in her hands, just say a quick prayer to Yuja just before she goes to sleep.
Okay, Bora, what would you like to do? So you've swiped your cup of tea.
So Bora, being the tea thief that he is going to nonchalantly walk back towards his own quarters, which among the I guess the floor plan of what this is, where is Bora's residence in comparison to the other two?
I will give you an option for this because we didn't actually discuss it. You can either have a rather basic residence within the servants' quarters, or you can have one of the smaller rooms on one of the wings off of the main house, depending on what you feel like Bora would probably go for.
He'd probably have one of the smaller rooms, knowing what his duty
on
is.
the main house. Yeah, so in which case, it is, I would say, like a couple minutes. It's about 100 yards between the two different buildings. Well, from the service quarters and the main house is about 100 yards. And one of the small things, as you enter the actual house, you can start to hear the sounds of other people and music in the house. And it does sound like there's like a small opera troupe performing here, judging from the style of music that you hear. But you can easily skirt the entertainment areas to go off to your rooms. And this is kind of the sort of area where Chunso will have a room, Imai will have a room, a couple of the other sort of higher ranking members of the Twilight Lotus in Malang have access to rooms in this part of the house. If they do stay here. But you do know Imai and Chunso do stay here. And there are occasionally you do see other people coming in and out that you recognize.
Then yeah, Bora would definitely kind of skirt the entertainment going on for right now, since he wouldn't want to intrude on that at all. He's also relatively exhausted. And would simply find a way into his room, downing the tea in about 2 or 3 gulps because he started to develop a bit of a snobbish taste for things, having lived in this household, and will proceed to lay the cup near a small basin where he'll actively wash off his face of the remaining Dangjang, get that matted stickiness feeling off himself, and would probably undress and then put on like evening robes for himself before kind of just doing what he's been doing nightly since coming to the estate, which would be to go out to the veranda and just basically stare. And even though this is a particularly rainy night, he often thinks about those that he used to travel with as part of the fighting arena and the indentured servitude network, and because it's a particularly rainy night, would actually go back to the night that he escaped and just kind of think on that for a while, staring openly into the sky and just taking in the sounds of everything around him. How loud are the crickets right now?
They aren't actually very loud. The rain is drowning out most of the other noise that you would normally hear in the evenings. Although you
Okay.
do hear the sound of... Actually, I don't know if you will, because I just need to check if the region I'm basing off of this has cicadas in it. Okay, I'm gonna scrap the cicadas. You don't hear those. You just hear rain.
Okay. Okay. And he'll just kind of let out a deep sigh. From where he is, does he hear Ka trying to communicate with animals?
You can roll a perception check, but you're gonna have to roll really, really high to hear this over the rain.
What do you mean trying? I am succeeding.
Ka's a winner.
That's a 13.
No,
So
you just hear
I'm
the
going to
rain.
assume no. Good, because it would have been rather funny if you heard Ka doing that and, like, over the sound of normal animals just hearing that. You'd be like, what is that? What is that thing?
Okay.
And yeah, he'll kind of just lose himself in his own thoughts for a minute and just stare out.
Okay, so you... I'm guessing eventually we'll go sleep. We've got Toman has passed out. Ka, the rain is still going, and I would say both of you and Bora, just looking at the sky, it is quite dark, but from the look of the clouds earlier that day, doesn't look like the rain's going to let up anytime soon.
Once I finish talking to my beautiful dove friend, I would like to just kind of quietly stand up and go walk around, because, like, Ka isn't exactly a day person. So they're not quite ready to go to bed yet. So they're gonna spend some time wandering around, trying to find the kitchen.
Yeah, so I'm actually going to make you roll an investigation check.
Oh
this?
no. Oh no. I know exactly where that's gonna go if she rolls low. Oh no.
11.
11, okay. So it takes you a while to find the kitchen. In the process, you find this other office, and as you peek your head in, you do see Chunso looks up at you and is like, "May I help?"
Oh, yes. It turns out I am still indeed a bit peckish, and I was wondering if you might direct me towards the kitchens for a late snack.
Yes, of course. If you go just behind the servants' quarters, there is a large building. Behind it, slightly closer to the house. You went in the wrong direction.
Thank you. Did I interrupt anything?
Oh, no, I was just finishing up here.
What's he doing right now? Just quick glance overview.
It does look like he is looking at some paperwork. Just kind of looking over some scrolls. And you do see he's got a candle at his side, on the side of the desk, and the candle is burning quite low right now.
And does he still have his same jovial nature from earlier, or is it a little bit more dropped?
Roll an insight for this one.
12.
He does still look quite jovial, just a bit tired. Or like more tired than he looked like earlier.
Then I'm going to go ahead and thank you. Have a wonderful evening. And I'm going to wander around to the kitchens and ask if they have some sort of ask what sort of grain-like products they have that I can feed to my pigeon friend, or to my dove friend.
Okay, no problem. I will send you guys a layout of the estate once I've drawn it. But yeah, no, it's easy enough. You can go over, and you can. They point you towards a direction of some of the like grains and stuff, and there is almost like just take a handful from over there, and you can see it's like it seems to be almost like a waste bucket. So there's like some cold, like old and stale rice in there, but it hasn't gone off. It's just dry, and like what looks like bits of grain and things that have been swept up and put in.
Are there any like pastries or like bread products? If there are any lying out, I would probably request one.
I would say that you could probably smell that at some point in the evening, pastries had been cooked, but like it's kind of an old smell. Well, I say old.
All right.
It's probably like it's not a fresh smell.
Right. We're into the day olds. Well, in that case, I will just take some of the grains and take them out to the courtyard beneath the tree and just scatter them down below for the birds as a thank you.
You know, you see all the birds like flocking there, even though it's quite late. You could just see all these birds flocking to the grains, and one of them sort of like gives you like a quick nod, but it's like takes a few minutes. Like, was that a nod or was it trying to get the food and missed?
Yeah, I was just going to say, okay, and I'm going to leave them there, and it being nice and late at night, I'm going to go back into the servants' quarters through the door this time, and head into the room with atonement from sin and lay down for sleep.
All right, and with that, we will end the session. So you guys are now having your long rests.
Finally, it only took us 7 sessions.
It only took you 7 sessions.
And I didn't lose a single hit point.
So, with that,
Helen's already fallen in love with Jinso. So
oh my god, I love him so much. If anything happens, I will start crying.
I love my elderly
He's
characters.
so sweet. Why didn't I design a sweet character in my life? This is me.
Well, now you have this one.
Yes.
For when you need to hear my voice.
Yes.
Slow and
Oh my god.
old and like
Grandpa vibes. I'm here for it.
So with that, everyone, don't forget to follow us on social media. For the podcast itself, check out our Twitter and TikTok and Instagram. And I think those are just it. Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram. We are on those as Spirit on Tap D&D, or you can visit our website, spiritontapdnd.com. You can follow each of us individually on Twitter and social media. I am Anna S100 on Twitter. What about you? Let's start with Helen.
Ooh, I am It's Songbird on Twitter and Songbird Cosplay on Instagram.
Ginny?
I am at Ms. Ginny Liz on both Twitter and Instagram, and on Twitch, I am Ginny Liz. Thank you to Doc Leza for pointing out that I haven't been plugging my Twitch channel.
And I'm gonna say Bora ERIK.
Which name is it? We won't know. I'm ERIK. You can find me on Twitter at Slippers Cosplay.
Right, and with that, we will see you next time on Spirit on Tap. Thank you, and bye.
Bye. Bye.
Greetings. This is Atonement from Sin, the party's grave domain cleric, also known as Helen, one of the players on Spirit on Tap. Our D&D campaign is inspired by Asian religions, cultures, and regions. Feel free to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Spirit on Tap D&D. Thanks for listening, and we hope to see you soon.